start? Good morning, Jason.
Yes, we are.
Great. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone had a restful evening yesterday after a long day of training. And yes, we have one more day today. And hopefully all doubts or questions we'll be able to solve today. If not today, of course, always please reach out to your supervisors, reach out to headquarters or management team so that they can reply to your questions. You can reach out to me as well. You will have a letter when you invite the firms. You'll have a letter inviting them to the study, and my email is in that letter as well. So the idea is for you all to go to the field work comfortable, like I was saying yesterday. So we will continue right where we left off. I will share my screen. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Perfect. So the plan here is before we go into the questionnaire itself, as you can see, I opened my my user, my dashboard, and in create new, there's nothing there. Remember how yesterday I was telling you that in create new, you will only see the interviews that were just assigned to you and that have not been opened yet. So since we had only one, and apparently we haven't been assigned any more since yesterday, in that one we started already. Let's say we were talking to Bakery ABC's owner, and she had to leave midway through the interview because she had other commitments, and she said, please come back tomorrow and we can finish the interview. So now we're coming back today, and we're gonna continue where we left off. So that interview will be in the Started tab. So if I go to the Started tab, there it is. So if I look here, we'll see that this is Bakery ABC. And if I press on it and press open, it will open exactly where we left off. So it will open in section K, which is exactly where we left off. Now, how, and this because of the issues with the blackout yesterday with the power outage, I didn't show you how to leave the interview and leave it pending without submitting. So I will show you that now. So let's say we're yesterday at 4:15 p.m. And I need to leave this interview here. So there's a difference between the computer and the tablet. In the computer, you press on this icon here on the top left, and it takes you back to the dashboard. That is the way to leave the interview and then come back, and you'll be right where you left. If you are in the tablet, let me go back. If you are in the tablet, you will have 3 dots here in the top right corner. And if you press on those, the first button that will appear is dashboard. So if you want to go to the dashboard, you press there and it will take you to the main menu. Okay. So we will pick up right where we left off, which is section K. This is the finance section. It's one of the longest sections, but it's also an important section because it has to do with loans, with lines of credit, and basically the ability or the opportunities that the firm has to be able to access credit, which, as you know, is a very important factor for firm growth. So we were in question K4. Jason, could you start reading, please? Let me zoom in.
In fiscal year 2024, Did this establishment purchase any new or used fixed assets, such as machinery, vehicles, equipment, land, or buildings, including expansion and renovation of existing structures?
Great. And now I'm putting myself in the owner of bakery ABC role. And yes, we did buy those new machines to make the bread faster. So yes, did. Antigua, can we start in the room?
In the fiscal year 2024, how much did this establishment spend on new or used machinery, vehicles, and equipment in Eastern Caribbean dollars?
And here, perfect. And here you wait for the respondent to reply. I will say, for example, I have no idea, 200,000. And we will have to re-enter it. Now you read the following.
Land and buildings, including expansion and renovations of existing structures in Eastern Caribbean dollars.
So in the case of the bakery, we didn't do any renovations or expansions. So, well, we did change the windows, if I recall correctly, from yesterday because they were broken during a hurricane. So, how much? Let's say 100,000. Okay. K5. In the room in Antigua. Also, if you could turn on the camera, that would be great if possible. Who's next in Antigua to read?
Over fiscal year 2024, please estimate the percentage or amount in Eastern Caribbean dollars of this establishment's total purchases of fixed assets that were financed from the following sources. Show card 20.
Perfect. So the total purchases of fixed assets, I'm gonna give a percentage. So you select the unit, and then in card 20, you will have each one of these options. So the person will read them and they will tell you, okay, so in my case, I'm gonna answer in percentage. So these purchases of fixed assets, for example, these machines that I bought to make bread faster, they were 80% financed with internal funds, no new equity shares, 20% were borrowed from banks. So as you know, 80 plus 20 is 100. The rest are 0, but you do have to enter the 0 or otherwise you will get an error. You enter 0. Again, if the person is reading the card, right, and they say, oh, it was all internal funds, then you don't have to ask each and every one. You enter the 100 in the internal funds and you put 0 in the rest. Okay, so summarizing, I bought these new machines. I bought them 80% with internal funds, 20% with some type of credit from a bank. Next person to read.
Yeah, let's see.
All right, K6. At this time, Does this establishment have a current checking or savings account?
Great. If possible, read the instruction before. This is just to show that you're going to be talking about the present situation because this one, the previous was about the last fiscal year. So now you're talking about the present. I don't know in your countries whether you use current account or checking account. Which one do you use?
We would more or less say current or checking.
Current or checking. Okay, perfect. So feel free to use one or the other depending on what you usually use. So yes, we do have a current account.
Antigua business account is usually considered automatically as a checking account.
Perfect. Okay.
Does this establishment have an overdraft facility?
So the overdraft, I don't know if this is if everyone knows what overdraft is. In many countries, it's very common. In some other countries, it's not that common. Basically is when the checking account that allows firms to draw upon in the event their account balance becomes negative. So the account, the money that you have in the account goes negative, but the bank allows you to have it go negative. So technically they are lending money to the business and there's a rate associated to that lending. So they will have to pay interest for that lending. In the case of my bakery, yes, we do have an overdraft facility. We try not to use it. Generally, we don't let the account go negative. That's very rare, but we do have it just in case.
Financial institution.
And
I
it
don't know if
tells you.
So,
Yes, a loan only. Yes, a line of credit. Yes, both a line of credit and a loan.
Or no.
Or
Perfect. Yes, we have that loan to buy the bread, the machines. So we still have it. So the difference here is before you were asking about in the last fiscal year. Now you're asking, do you have a loan or line of credit now? Yes, I do have a loan. K9.
oh, and that's it for Antigua. Wait, yes,
Okay.
that's it for Antigua.
Okay. So St. Vincent.
K9, referring to the most recent line of credit or loan, what type of financial institution granted it?
Great. You show card 21, which has all these options. It was a private commercial bank. K10.
K10. In what year was this most recent line of credit or loan approved?
It was, yes. It was approved in 2023.
K11, what was its value in Eastern Caribbean dollars at the time of approval?
The loan was in the amount of, I have no idea, 700,000. Is that it? Yes, go ahead.
Did this financing require collateral?
So again, collateral, in case not everyone knows, is the assets that are used as a guarantee if the establishment defaults on its payment obligations. So generally, banks require collateral when they give out a loan in case the person is not able to pay, just to have as a guarantee. So did that loan require collateral? Yes, it did. K14, I think, St. Vincent, I think, is that everyone?
Yes, it's everyone.
Okay, Grenada?
What type of collateral was required? Land, buildings, and the ownership of the establishment. Yes, no?
Yes. You don't need to read the options, just this. Perfect. Okay. Go ahead. You can continue reading.
Read it.
Here, K14B.
Machinery and equipment, including vehicles.
No.
And inventories.
No.
Personal assets of the owner, house, etc.
No.
Other forms of collateral not included in the categories above.
No. Great. So I'm gonna go back. Perfect. So we're asking about that collateral, meaning the guarantee in case the business is not able to pay back the loan. In the case of the bakery, I said yes to the land and buildings because the guarantee that we gave was the let's say our warehouse that we have, or well, actually the land. Although I did say at the beginning that our land was leased, but let's forget about that. Let's say that we own the land. So then it would be the land that we are putting in as a guarantee. We are not putting machinery as a guarantee or inventories, accounts receivable. Definitely in the case of my bakery, we not my house as the owner or any of my personal assets, or other forms of collateral. K15A, in the room in Grenada. The next person can read.
What was the approximate value in Eastern Caribbean dollars of the collateral required?
So the loan was about 700,000. I'm gonna say that the value was 1 million. No, that's not 1 million. 1 million, great. And I have to re-enter the amount. Okay. K15B.
What is the total number of outstanding loans and open lines of credit held by this establishment?
Great. And this question can be tricky. Yes, Julie. You're muted.
Okay, try again. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
All right, I was just wondering when you said about the collateral,
Yes.
it's just the value of the collateral that was required, not the value of the collateral that was given.
That's a great question. Thank you, Julie. Let's go back to the question. What was the approximate value of the collateral required? Yes, exactly. So we are going for that required, not necessarily the one that was given. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So in K15B, you have to pay attention in this question because it actually is trickier than you would think. Total number of outstanding loans and open lines of credit. What we are asking is the number of loans or lines of credit. We are not asking for the amounts. So you will imagine my surprise when I get the data from different countries and I'm looking at the answers and I get a lot of answers here that say like 500,000 or 5 million. I'm like, you have 5 million loans? That's not possible. So I think a lot of people get confused and put the total amount of all the loans here, which is not correct. So we are asking about the total number of loans. So it's probably going to be a number of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a much smaller number. In the case of my bakery, I have that loan from the machines. And let's say I also have another loan, a prior loan for um, paying salaries and different things. So then I have 2 outstanding loans, outstanding because they are still ongoing. K15C, Grenada.
What is the total outstanding balance in Eastern Caribbean dollars of all open lines of credit and loans held by this establishment?
Thank you. Now, yes, now we are asking about the amounts. So yes, here it might be that it's, let's say, 2 million. Okay. K15D.
At this time, does the owner or owners of this establishment have any outstanding personal loans that are used to finance this establishment's business activities?
In this case, we are asking about personal loans. So if I'm the owner of Bakery ABC, we are asking about if I myself have a loan under my name, not under the business name, and I use that money for business purposes. So I'm not using that money for my personal purposes, but rather operations of the establishment. In the case of Bakery ABC, no, I don't have any loans that I use for business activities. So no. Again, please jump in if you have any questions. K16-2. I think in Grenada there's still some people that haven't read.
Referring to fiscal year 2024, did this establishment apply for any lines of credit or loans?
And it says, read up.
A loan only, yes. A line of credit only, yes. Both a line of credit and a loan, no. Don't know.
Great. The don't know you don't need to read because it's spontaneous. So until no, great. In 2024, did we apply for any line of credit or loans? No, we didn't apply for any credit or loans in 2024. We have a loan in 2024, but we applied for it in 2023. So no, we didn't apply for any in 2024. Is that it in Grenada? Is there someone that hasn't read?
That's it for us.
Okay, thank you. Imogene, could you read K17?
Yes. Good morning. What was the main reason why this establishment did not apply for any line of credit or loan? And I have to read out the options.
No, just you show the card.
Right. No, just wanted
So
to know
you,
if I read the card. No, yes, I show the card, yes.
yeah, so you show the card and the card will have all of these options listed. The person will look at them. And the main reason why we did not apply for any credit or loan in 2024, in the case of my bakery, is that we didn't really need it. We had enough capital with the 2 loans that we already have. So no need for a loan. Other options, just for you to be aware, include the application procedures were complex, interest rates were not favorable, collateral requirements were too high, size of the loan and maturity were insufficient, did not think it would be approved, or other. Okay, K21. Delia, could you read? I think she may be having trouble too. Dave, could you read K21?
Yes, Key 21. In in fiscal year 2024, did this establishment have an annual financial statement checked and certified by an external auditor?
Great, thank you, Dave. No, we did not. K33. Has everyone read? Jasmine, what did you read in the room or?
Good morning. K33, what percentage of total sales for a typical month does this establishment receive from its customers through electronic payments that is other than cash or check payments?
Thank you. So total sales for a typical month. So we are talking about typical month, the most common month, usually. So total sales received from customers, meaning the people come to my bakery, they pay. Do they use electronic payments? Electronic payment, we understand as everything that is not cash or check. So it can include paying with mobile phones, paying with credit cards, paying with debit cards, mobile money. So as you can imagine, a lot of people will pay with credit cards, debit cards. So what percentage of total sales generally in a typical month do you receive from customers with anything that is not cash or check? I will say for my bakery that it's about, I don't know, what percentage would you say? Can you say that again?
100,000
In percentage.
percentage. Let's
Mhm.
say
80%? Is that reasonable or? Yeah, okay. Let's say 80% then. Julie, you have a question?
Yes, my question is, if you have submitted your your financials to the auditors, but it has not yet been certified, do you select yes or no?
Great question. So if let me change to yes, no, it doesn't open. Okay. Um, that is something that, for example, is not in the answer options. So you can say, have its annual financial statement checked and certified. So if it's still ongoing, you can reply and add in a comment. The respondent said that it is ongoing. They have not certified it yet, for example. And you put that in a comment so that once it gets to supervisor, the supervisor knows exactly what the respondent said, and they can decide what the correct response would be if it's not clear to you in the moment. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the question asked if it was checked, the statement was checked and certified. But the question that the person just asked, if it was submitted but not checked, the question didn't ask if it was submitted. It asked if it was checked and certified. So it's still no. You would have sent it, you would have submitted it. It didn't ask if it was submitted. It was submitted, but it wasn't checked and certified. So it's no.
Yes, agreed. Yes. So in this case, it would be no. But if you think that, it is worth mentioning that it is ongoing, so it technically will be a yes soon, possibly, you don't know. You can put in a comment to make sure that, okay, the respondent said this, we have the information. But yes, in this case, if it's not checked and certified yet, it's a no. And you can add the comment with the caveat if you want to. Yes. Okay, so going back to K33, the total sales in a typical month that the establishment receives from its customers, we said around 80% because a lot of people pay with credit cards and debit cards. Is this common in your countries, for example? To pay with credit cards and debit cards?
Yes.
Perfect. Some countries, as you can imagine, are more cash-based. Some countries are only credit cards. Some countries are only debit cards. Some countries are bank transfers or mobile money. So it really varies. So that's what we are trying to understand with this question. So the next K34-2, I think, did everyone read? I think so. Okay, so we start again. Jason, could you read K34-2?
In a typical month, which of the following electronic payment method accounts, sorry, let me start again. In a typical month, which of the following electronic payment method accounts for the largest proportion of this establishment sales in value?
And you show card.
Show the card. Yeah.
Perfect. The card will show these options.
Credits, bank transfers, e-wallets.
In a typical month, again, so we're talking about what happens most often. Generally, people pay. In my bakery, generally people pay with credit cards. So I'm going to select credit cards. K35. Antigua, can we go to the room?
How many days does it take on average from when payment is made until the money is received using credit cards?
When you pay with an electronic payment like a credit card, generally it takes some time. It's not immediate. That the business gets the money. Generally, usually I see numbers like 1, 2, 3 days, but it could be more. So if the payment is received in less than a day, you have the option right here. For in the case of my bakery, I'm going to say that generally we receive it within a day, so 1 day. Yes, Julie.
Yes, the payment is dependent on when the merchant or when the business upload the file. So it's not necessarily an indication that the bank is slow in making the payment, but sometimes businesses take 2-3 days before they upload the file. So it depends on what they're doing in their in-house.
That's a great point. In that case, so in that case, if the business makes, or the person, the interviewee makes that clarification, that they say, well, sometimes we we are delayed in uploading the information for the bank to pay us, then you can enter that again in a comment. And for example, let's say that in the case of the bakery, I say generally the bank pays us within a day, but sometimes we are late in giving them the information. So you can clarify the merchant or the respondent says that sometimes they are late providing the credit card company with information, but once they do, it takes about a day. Like you correctly pointed out, Julie, what we are interested in measuring here is the amount of time it takes since the moment that the credit card company receives the information. Otherwise, they can't do anything. But you can always make the clarification if the respondent is making a clarification that you think should be captured, please enter it. It's always better to have more information than to have less.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, K36, Antigua, we continue in the room.
Yeah. Okay. All right, K36, as a percentage of a typical transaction, how much does it cost to accept payments using credit card?
When you pay with credit card, generally, the business has to pay a certain percentage of the sale to the credit card company. Same for debit cards, same for other types of electronic payments in many cases. So as a percentage of a typical transaction, for my bakery, we generally have to pay the credit card company about 2% of the typical transaction. K37.
What is the cost per month in Eastern Caribbean dollars to accept payments using credit card? These include all monthly fees, subscription fees, point of sale, terminal costs, maintenance, and other costs.
This question can be a little confusing because we talked as a percentage of a typical transaction, how much does it cost? And now we are saying, what is the cost per month to accept the payments using credit cards? But here we are referring to all monthly. First, it's monthly. Before we were talking kind of the typical general typical transaction. Here we're talking about the typical month, and we want the number that includes fees, subscription fees, the point of sale terminal costs, which are, I don't know how you call them in your countries. In every country, they call them something different. Like the POS, the little machine that you put the credit card or the debit card. So how much did those cost? Because it's not just for the bakery, it's not just having to pay the 2% of each typical transaction. In this case, it's also buying those little machines, doing maintenance of the machines, any other fees that they need to be able to have that system going. So on a monthly basis, how much do they pay? Keep all that network, all that structure that they need to get credit card payments. In this case, it's going to be, let's say, I have no idea about a reasonable number. I'm just going to say any number. So let's say 20,000. And again, if they give you the information on a yearly basis or an annual basis, please divide it by 12. And if you cannot do that math quickly, which most people can't, so don't feel bad about that. I also probably wouldn't be able to do it if I'm paying attention to the interview. You can either use your calculator in your phone, for example, to do it, or if you want to keep the interview going, which is perfectly reasonable and a good choice, I would say, you can write it, leave it empty, and write it in a comment saying, for example, so you can, let me take this out. You can, respondent said 20,000 a year. So you can leave that empty and keep going so that when you get home later that day, you go to the things that are in blue because there's something that you didn't complete. You know it's these things, and you can go back and say, okay, oh, the respondent said 20,000 a year. Let me divide this by 12. You do it calmly in your house, and then you enter the number. Okay? I'm going to leave that. I'm going to pretend that that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to leave that empty. There was a question. Yes, Philippe. Malik, I think you're muted. You're muted. You're muted, Malik. I can't hear you. Can Malik? Malik, you're muted. I see you're talking, but I cannot hear you. Perhaps someone else can figure out in the room if another microphone could work. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Say Vincent in the room, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can. Yes,
Okay, so you can hear me, great.
Okay,
Yeah, we can. Yes, we can.
Eugenia, can you hear me?
Yes, okay, Malik, sorry, I saw you were talking, but you were muted, so we didn't hear anything.
Oh, thank you.
I just saw the thing. Yeah, because I didn't see your name. I didn't see your picture. Yeah.
Right, so I was asking in terms of, I'll say it very quickly this time, in terms of K37, given the amount of information that's required, and just aligning with what I was asking yesterday, when we are introducing ourselves and reaching out to the establishments to pose the survey and to suggest to flag with them the sort of deep, in-depth information we may require. What's the best way to flag with them that, please anticipate discussions on your monthly fees, on your profits, or, monthly expenditures? What is the best possible way to frame it so that we're not necessarily, they're not caught off guard midstream in the interview? And of course, I have my own concerns that this interview process on average, I know it's suggested it's going to take an hour. I think it's going to take a lot longer, at least 90 minutes. I'm being very realistic given the amount of information we're really required to gather. Any thoughts?
So yes, a couple of things. I'm gonna answer the last first and then go back. So on the time, it really depends. Right now we are going in depth into every single question, and we are answering questions, and I'm saying yes to a lot of things. That you'll see the average firm, maybe a lot of them will not have applied in the last 2 years for this permit or for that permit. So it's highly unlikely that a firm or many firms will answer yes to everything. Also, we're doing the manufacturing firms, which take a little bit longer than other types of firms, but they are very important because the manufacturing firms give us a lot of key information for us to understand the private sector. So it really, really depends. You'll have interviews that are much shorter, interviews that, yes, will take 90 minutes, perhaps some of them, yes. But on average, generally, it will be around the 60-minute mark, or perhaps a little bit less, like 55, 50-minute mark. On the first part of your question, that is something that you need to discuss with Kiwan, with the supervisors, with Andrea and Jimena. This project also is already in the field, as you know. So there is experience in terms of what has worked, what has not worked in each and every country. It varies. It's different. So I agree that it's good to provide the respondents with, okay, please prepare this and have this ready so that you don't catch them off guard. Of course, also you don't want to scare them away. So you have to balance that. I think Jimena and Andrea can give you a lot of information on that end, because they have been working on that and trying to maximize recruitment in your specific countries. So Jimena, of course, please feel free to jump in. Where is Jimena? I don't see her.
I'm here, Eugenia.
Yes.
I'm here. Yes, thank you.
So of course, please feel free to jump in on this. And later today, we're going to be talking about the screening process. So when you determine whether a firm is eligible or not, and in that screening process, when you're trying to set up the appointment, it really depends. In your countries, you're going to have to go in person, and because that's how it works. In some countries, people do it by telephone. Some countries, people have to go to the businesses. In your countries, that has been what has usually worked the much better, which is going in person and talking to the people in person. So when you talk to them and present the study, you will have a letter, and also you will have letters from the chambers supporting the study. So you will have documents that can help you in the recruitment. And you will ask them a few questions to determine if they're eligible, and you can set up an appointment. And in that moment is when you tell them, okay, if possible, please have this ready. And Jimena and Andrea can give you a list of the things that usually the enumerators mention in terms of what the person could have ready. So I think it's a utility bill. And Jimena, jump in. I don't remember exactly, but it's a list of a few points.
Yes, the bills for water, electricity, the I don't know how to say it in English, sorry.
Financial statements?
Yeah, financial statement, thank you.
And it's important also, Valik, to clarify that the most important thing is to try to get the interview, which we don't want to scare the people away, of course. So to always give them the option of, you can always say don't know. So it's not like you have to reply to absolutely everything if you feel uncomfortable. However, we can't have an interview of pure don't knows, right? Because it's as if we didn't get the interview. It's as if we didn't do it. So of course, it has to be a balance. But if there are areas that people feel uncomfortable, they can say don't know. However, always try, and this is in general, always try when people tell you that, oh, I don't feel comfortable sharing that, you can give them the option of, okay, you don't need to give me the exact number, for example, but approximately an idea, approximately how much it is, because that gives us information. It's better to have an approximation than to have a don't know. But of course, the don't know option, as you can see, is in every single question. So every single question has a don't know possibility. Once again, if everything is don't know, it's the same as not having the interview, but they have that option. So I hope I answered your question, Valik. Great. Okay, thank you. Julie, you have a question.
Yes, I just wanted to quickly add on K37 that the 4% normally in Antigua, they charge 4% for each transaction. That's the bank charge on use of the credit card machine. But the bank would take on the maintenance of the terminal and all those other costs. So
Wonderful.
it could, It could be that they are not paying anything outside of the 4% per transaction.
Nice.
Thank
See,
you.
no, thank you. It's nice. That's something that's definitely worth mentioning. So to accept payments using credit cards, here you can say, for example, in this case, it would be 0. Well, I already, sorry, I already put the comment about 20,000, so I can't, let's continue with that in the example. But in that case, you would put 0, and you can say in a comment, the respondent says that the bank takes on the cost of maintenance, etc., so they pay 0, which is good to know. It will be great for me to know when I get the data. I'm like, that's why. Huh, interesting. Because not all countries do that, not all banks do that. So it would be very interesting to have that information.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, K38. I completely forgot whose turn it was now. I think, were we in Antigua in the room?
Okay, I believe so. What percentage of total payments that this establishment makes in a typical month is done through electronic payments, that is other than cash or check payments, excluding payments to government and payroll?
Great, thank you. So this is the exact same question as before, but in this case, we're talking about making payments to, making payments. So generally will be to suppliers, to providers. So not how we receive payments from customers, but how we make payments to our suppliers. I'll say that generally in 60% we pay our suppliers using electronic payments. So 60. K39 too.
In a typical month, which of the electronic methods account for the largest proportion of this establishment? Then I show the card.
Exactly, perfect. So typical month, again, the concept of typical month, which is the most common, the most often, the most frequent. Which electronic payment when the business makes payments. In this case, generally when we make payments, we use bank transfers. So yes. Okay, 40. Is there anyone else in the room in Antigua? No?
That's it for us.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Kay, St. Vincent. K40. In St. Vincent, in the room?
Yes, we are. K40. As a percentage of a typical transaction, how much does it cost to make payments using bank transfers?
Great. I'm gonna say for my bakery, it's generally 0. We don't have to pay anything for bank transfer. K30.
Using and response options on the card. To what degree is access to finance an obstacle to the current operation of this establishment? Show card 24.
Perfect. So if I asked you, if I'm the respondent and I ask you, what do you mean by access to finance? What would you say?
This is a question that needs no explanation. I just want to respond to it.
Exactly. Great. So just reply whatever you interpret. I, as the bakery owner, I interpret that access to finance is a moderate obstacle, for example. Okay, and we get to the end where we have that sign. Sorry, let me read the comment. Okay, there are unanswered questions in this section that cannot be skipped. Please complete before moving on. What is unanswered was this one that I did this on purpose because I need to divide by 12. So this is good. I will continue. Going to the business government relations section. And yes, Valik, I think I'm trying to follow an order. I think I'm trying to go Jason, Antigua, then St. Vincent, then Grenada, and then the people that are connected directly online. So I think right now we're still in St. Vincent. There's someone that hasn't read. So if you could read, please, the introduction and the question.
The following question assets how establishments such as this one deal with government officials and their agents. J2, in a typical week of the last year, what percentage of total senior management's time was spent on dealing with requirements imposed by government relations? By senior management, I mean managers, directors, and officers above direct supervisors of the production of or sale water.
Great. This question is very important. Because this is very used for policy, and in general, at least policy research. So in a typical week, so we're talking about a week. What percentage of total senior management's time was spent dealing with government regulations? This is an estimate, of course, but it's a percentage of the time during a week. I'll say for the bakery, it's generally, I would say, around 5% of the time. So you're right, 5. The person might tell you, I don't know I can tell you how many hours. I don't know if those hours, what percentage they are in a typical week, which is fine. Yes, Dave, do you have a question?
Sorry, no.
No worries. So in that case, that's fine. You do exactly what we discussed in the previous section. You enter a comment, you write what they said. Respondent said 5 hours a week, for example, or 3 hours a week, and you leave it empty. And when you come back to the interview and do the calculations later that day, you do, okay, it's 3 hours in the week. Each day has 24 hours and the week has 7 days, and you make the conversion. If you don't want to do that, you can just write it in the comment and we'll take it from there. But do write what the respondent said. That's very, very important. Ideally, you can always ask them as well. Can you tell me in percentage? What do you estimate as a percentage of your typical week? And they generally tell you approximately. Okay, J3. I think, is it Grenada? We go to the room in Grenada.
Over the last year, was the establishment visited or inspected by tax officials or required to meet with them?
No, my bakery was not visited or inspected by tax officials.
In fiscal year 2024, did this establishment outsource any tax-related activities, including the preparation, filing, or payment of home taxes, labor, taxes, APST, or sales taxes?
And you have the instruction?
Yes, partially or no.
Great. ABST is the how do you say Eva in English? I'm blanking now. So the consumer tax in Antigua, but in oh my God, how do you say that? I'm completely blanking.
It's the Antigua and Barbuda sales tax.
Sales tax, exactly. What's the acronym normally used? VAT. VAT. Okay, VAT. Which I believe in Grenada and in St. Vincent it's VAT, the way that you say it, and Antigua is ABST. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's how we call it.
Perfect, great. So here for the other two countries, it will say VAT. So yes, partially we did outsource tax-related activities to an accountant, an external accountant. So yes, partially. Grenada back in the room.
Over fiscal year 2024, what was the total number of hours required for the preparation, filing, and payment of all taxes, profit taxes, labor taxes, ABST, or sales taxes for this establishment?
So total number of hours, I don't know. Let's say it took us 30 hours. J36. Julie, you have a question before we go to J36?
Yes, I was just wondering if the preparation of taxes is outsourced. Perhaps they would know the number of hours that it takes.
Yes, great question. Yes, that's true. So in this case, they might say don't know, which is fine. And if they don't know, they don't know. They might know, in which case you enter the number, and they might offer you. I don't know, but I can find out. I can ask my accountant. In which case, yes, if they can provide us that number, all the better. J36, Grenada in the room.
In fiscal year 2024, did this establishment file its taxes electronically?
And you have the instruction.
Oh, yes, fully, yes, partially, no, don't.
Perfect. You don't have to say they don't know. They don't. Let's not give them the option. Only put don't know if they naturally say don't know. So you're asking about filing, so not paying. We are only saying if they filed the taxes electronically. Yes, in my case, the case of the bakery, yes, we did fully file our taxes electronically. And in J37, I'm gonna go quick in this question. J37 is the exact same thing, but instead of file, we are saying pay. So if the establishment paid the taxes electronically, I'm gonna say that yes, we paid fully electronically. Okay, J38, going to the room in Grenada.
In the last few years, has this establishment applied for a ABS refund? ABST refund? Yes, no, refund not available.
You don't have to read the options. Just you just ask. Yeah. So in general, you don't read the options in general unless you have something like this that says interviewer readout options. Otherwise, or if you have show card, then you show the card. Otherwise, you just ask the question. So in this case, this is ABST because it's the Antigua questionnaire, but for St. Vincent and the Grenadines and for Grenada, we will have VAT here. So have they applied for a refund? Tell me if in your countries this does not apply, or if it's generally different. There are some countries that, for example, don't have a refund. Some countries do the refund automatically. So this might vary per country. But if they have applied for an ABST or VAT refund, I'll say yes. Grenada, is there anyone else in the room that hasn't read?
In reference to the most recent or VAT refund, how many weeks did it take from when the establishment submitted its application until the refund was received?
It took a week or less. So we just select. And here we get one of those soft flags. Please verify that the VAT refund, this is correct, this should get you, was received in less than 2 weeks, because this is strange in international standards, but it might be that in that specific country it is true. It's like this. So remember what you do when you get these types of flags that we discussed yesterday?
In that instance, you're supposed to leave a comment.
Exactly. So you ask, sorry, just I want to verify that you said that you received the refund in less than 2 weeks. The other person said, oh, did I say less than 2 weeks? No. I meant less than 2 months. It was around a month and a half. Then that means they may messed up. So you just press X and you say how many weeks. So they said a month and a half. So that would be around 6 weeks. You write 6 and that's that. But if you ask them and they said, yeah, it was really fast, I was also surprised. Yeah, it was really fast. It was less than a week. So then you enter a comment and you say verified because you asked and they confirmed. Okay, J6A. Is there anyone else that hasn't read in Grenada? No? Okay. Imogene, could you read
We're
J6?
done. We're good. Everybody read.
Great, thank you. Imogene, J6A, could you read?
Sure. Over the last year, has this establishment secured or attempted to secure a government contract?
I'm gonna say no, but if we say yes, a few more questions pop up. So it's only one question, in which you would show card 26. That question says, how difficult does this establishment find the administrative requirements to participate in a tender? Please consider the time and resources that the establishment used in order to prepare a bid. You would show card 26, which has these options. And they answer. It is a sensitive question, so you don't give an explanation if they ask you for one. But in this case, I'm going to say no, so that question will not pop up. J42. Delia, could you read? Or Dave, could you read? Or Delia, Delia, yeah.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. Over the last 3 years, has the establishment held a government contract?
Great, thank you. In the previous one, we asked secured or attempted to secure. So if they tried, that would be a yes. But here we are talking about if they held, so if they had one. Okay, so I'm going to say no. If we say yes, more questions pop up. How many days did it take to receive payment under the government contract? And yeah, I think it's only that one because this one, yes, this is for everyone. So J7, Dave, could you read? Okay, let's go to Jasmine. Could you read?
It is said that establishments are sometimes required to make gifts or informal payments to public officials to get things done regarding customs, taxes, licenses, regulations, services, etc. On average, what percentage of total annual sales or estimated total annual value do establishments like this one pay in informal payments or gifts to public officials for this purpose?
Thank you. So this is one of the trickiest questions in the questionnaire, as you can imagine. We have worked on the wording of this question a lot. So please try to stick to this wording, so that it is read the exact same way all around the world. Pay attention that we are saying it is said that. So we're not saying that that is true or false. We're saying that it is said that this are sometimes required, and that establishments are sometimes required. On average, what percentage or estimated total value do establishments like this one? So we're not saying your establishment. We are saying establishments like this one, because we want to try to make it as sensitive as possible. Sensible, what's the word in English? So that the person doesn't feel uncomfortable to answer this. So we're not talking about them and their business. We're talking about establishments like this one, in their experience, in their perspective. Again, it is a sensitive question. So if they ask you anything, you just say, we are asking this everywhere around the world in this exact same way. I have instructions not to clarify. Just answer whatever you want, whatever you interpret, you answer and you move on. Okay, so local currency, maybe, I don't know. Let's say 1,000. I have, again, numbers are ridiculous, or I don't know what the numbers exactly represent. In this case, we're in general throughout this whole interview, we're just saying any numbers. J10. Whose turn is it?
Hi, okay, I think it's mine.
Yes.
J10. Over the last 2 years, did this establishment apply to obtain an import license? Sorry about that.
No worries. No, we did not apply for an import license. If we had, some more questions would appear here. The same types of questions of how many days did it take? I think actually only that one. Oh, no, in reference to that application, informal gift or payment. And yeah, that is it. No. J13. Julie, you have a question?
Yes, I was just thinking that if any payment was made, that it would be probably in kind, like property or something like that, where you'd have to put a value on it. I don't think a cash payment may be made. I was just thinking that.
Yes, that is a good point. In that case, again, however they interpret, so because the thing is, we always give the exact same indication, and as you can see, I'm repeating it 100,000 times, but we really want this to be done like this everywhere, so that's why. So if they ask you, oh, it's generally in kind, do you want me to tell you the value of whatever it was in kind? You tell them whatever you interpret. So you don't give any explanation or clarification.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Valik, you had a question?
I wanted to back up what Julie is saying. Sometimes what you have happening is there may be instances where you have maybe someone needs to travel to do whatever business on behalf of the government, and they use their own funds. And then what will happen is, instead of getting reimbursed, that person may get some sort of tax write-off, or they may get if they're bringing in things through the court, they may get some sort of concession. So it's not always a cash payment. And in that instance, it's, I guess, as much as possible, we just try and put a dollar value on it, right?
Yes, but you again, you don't, I know it might be hard, but you don't make any clarification. So if they ask you, if they tell you this and they say, should I put a dollar amount in that? You can't really clarify anything. So you just say, whatever you interpret. So if they want to give you a dollar value, they will give you that dollar value. If not, they don't. I know that it's not great, this solution, because we might be collecting noise. We're not collecting, yes, I know. But the thing is that we need to be super clear with the instructions on these type of questions, because if we start in some of these saying, oh, yes, do this or yes, do that around the world, it's more complicated. So we always give this exact same explanation for these type of questions. So if you get any questions, whatever they interpret.
Would you say that you would depend on the comment section in that instance? So you just put in a figure, but you might put in, do y'all factor that in when you're putting in the data, the comments assigned to those kind of questions?
So the comments, again, the comments you can use in general throughout all the questionnaire, all the questions. However, for the sensitive questions, since we are so tied to whatever the person feels in terms, because they are opinions, they are subjective, they're not facts. So it's not like I can, like we can convert something that is, oh, just 100 divided by 12, and I'll do it later. It's something that is very much an opinion. So we need to stick to whatever they said. So you can use the comments, of course, but that comment we might not be able to use on anything because it's not factual data, it's an opinion. So then you just need to tell them whatever you interpret. And if they say, I don't know, then it's a don't know. If they say, okay, I would say then that it's, I value that, whatever, tax override or whatever it was in 30,000. So put 30,000, then you put 30,000. But we basically don't want to bias or assume anything when it comes to opinions or sensitive questions. Answering the other part of your question in terms of how we use the comments. So in terms of the logistics of how the interview works, the interviewer accounts are the only ones that can enter information. So like I mentioned yesterday, there are 3 types of accounts: interviewer or enumerator, supervisor, and headquarters. The enumerator accounts are the only ones that can enter information. So when this gets to the supervisor, if the supervisor sees a comment and they, for example, you left something empty because you weren't sure how to fill it out, but you wrote what the person said in the comment, the supervisor will read it and they can reply to you. They will reject it and they will reply to you. Please fill out this question. From your comment, we understand that the correct answer is this. And so then you can fill out the whatever that doubt that you had was from the information that you got in the interview. Again, all of this in terms of the factual questions. When it comes to opinions and sensitive, that we really need to put exactly in the moment what they told us, because there's no other person should interpret what the question is. So yes, I hope I answered your question.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, where are we in J13? I don't remember whose turn it was. Were we about to start again? I think so. Jason, could you read J13?
Over the last 2 years, did this establishment apply to obtain an operating license?
I'm going to say no, but if I said yes, this would open up. And how many days did it take? And was an informal gift or payment expected or requested. But I'm going to say no. And then we get to J30. Antigua in the room.
Yeah. So showing the card, using the response options on the card, to what degree are each of the following an obstacle to the current operations of your establishment? Tax rates.
Perfect. So you read tax rates, you wait, because these are the options that you will see in the card. So I will look at this as the bakery owner, and I will say that tax rates are a moderate obstacle.
Political instability.
No obstacle.
Crime, theft, and disorder.
A moderate obstacle.
Tax administration.
Major obstacle.
Sorry.
What?
Okay. USA. Okay. Corruption.
That's a major obstacle.
Sorry. Okay. Business licensing and permits.
Moderate obstacle.
Courts.
Minor obstacle. Okay, and we get to the end. And here you will have a question that you have here, and you will see in the labor section, which says, I would like to ask you a few questions about this establishment's labor force. Should I continue with you or with the human resources department? Again, you might be interviewing a very small firm that doesn't have a human resources department. It's just them. Or you might be interviewing a huge business that does have a big HR department. So you ask them, should I continue with you or with someone else? If they said yes, the system gives you the indication, continue with section L with current respondent. So you go to the next section, which is section L. If they tell you no, continue with another respondent, this tells you continue with section M with current respondent. So we would skip section L and go directly to M and ask L section to a human resources representative. So you would schedule an appointment with the human resources person to complete this section later. In this case, you're going to continue with me. So we're going to go to section L. And mindful that it's 10:47, I think we need to have our first break of the day. So let's come back at 11:05. Does that work? Okay, great. See you all at 11:05.
Okay. Thanks so much. Oh, Eugenia,
Yes.
just a quick note. Team Antigua wants to extend to you thanks for all of your patience and wonderful training so far.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for all the questions. Honestly, the more questions you ask, the more engaged you are. And this is a very a big project. And I know it can be tiring or frustrating at points, but we really rely on you. I want to stress, I know I'm a broken record that I'm repeating myself, but we really rely on you and your work is very, very important. So I want to give you the time to and the attention to make you feel comfortable to go to the field and do the best job you can. Thank you all. See you at 11:05.
Thanks, Lauren.
Hello, please confirm to me when everyone's back.
We're back.
Great. I think we're missing St. Vincent team.
We're back.
Great, perfect. Great. So Julie, there's a question on the chat. Let me, a question when we return on the license. If a business is already operating, is the survey referring to a different type of license? Let me go back to that question. And that was okay. Yeah. So in this case, it might be that the business, even if it's operating, it might be that they need to reapply, because in some countries they expire and they need to apply again, or they made a change and for some reason it was a requirement that they needed to apply again. So either if they applied for the first time in the last 3 years or if they had to reapply for some reason. Okay. Section L. I don't remember where we were. Do you remember? Otherwise, we start again. Let's start again. Jason, L1, could you read?
I'm not seeing the screen share.
Ah, that's why. Great, yes. I forgot to screen share. Let me screen share again. Okay. Oh, sorry. There we go.
At the end of the fiscal year 2024, how many permanent full-time individuals worked in this establishment? Please include all workers and managers. Permanent full-time workers are defined as all workers that work for a term of 1 or more years and or have a guaranteed renewal of their employment and that work a full shift.
Great. So a clarification here. We are asking about permanent full-time workers. So those are the two important concepts of this question: permanent and full-time. Full-time, you can imagine that if we used every single country's definition of permanent and full-time, which might be very different across different countries, this would be very noisy. So we use our own definition, which is full-time means a full shift, whatever full shift is in that country, whether it's 8 hours, 7 hours, 9 hours, whatever it is, full shift, that's full-time. And permanent for us means that they have worked for a term of 1 or more years and or have a guaranteed renewal. So the full shift part is this, and then the permanent part is this, for a term of 1 or more years and or have a guaranteed renewal. So if I work at a hotel for 3 months in the summer, and then I stopped working, I am not a permanent worker of that hotel. If I work there for a year or more, I am considered for this definition as a permanent worker for that hotel. If I haven't worked for a full year, if I have worked only for 6 months, but my contract has a guaranteed renewal, meaning I am expected to be there for a year or more, my contract doesn't end now before the year is due, then that for us is a permanent worker. Okay. Please let me know if there are questions on this, because you will see these two words throughout this whole section. So those are the two things, permanent and full-time. And then in the rest of the questions, you will see non-permanent and part-time. So yeah. In the case of the bakery, we will say that we have 10 workers, permanent full-time workers. Okay, L2 in the room in Antigua.
Looking back at the end of fiscal year 2022, how many permanent full-time individuals worked in this establishment? Please include all workers and managers.
Great, so this is 2022, so we're asking about 2 years prior. This is just to see if they have more workers, fewer workers, the same amount of workers. In 2022, the establishment was not in business because of COVID. We closed our doors in 2022, for example, and we reopened in 2023. Okay, L3.
L3, at the end of fiscal year 2024, of the 10 workers, how many permanent full-time individuals in this establishment were? And that's L3A, production workers.
Great. So you wait for me to answer, and then you read the next one. So production workers out of the 10. So this is completed automatically from what you entered before. So out of the 10 production workers, meaning those directly involved in the production process. As you can imagine, this appears for manufacturing firms. Those firms that are not manufacturing, this will not appear. So out of the 10, 8 are production. They're producing bread and the baked goods.
Okay, L3B, non-production workers.
And here I should write 2, right? Because 8 plus 2 equals 10. If I write 3, there should be an error. Exactly, which tells you L3 variables must sum to L1. So this was 2. Non-production workers are administration, sales, so anyone that's not actively manufacturing.
Okay, you want to use, okay.
At the end of the fiscal year 2024, of the 8 production workers, how many permanent full-time production workers in this establishment were? Very hard to meet. In highly skilled jobs, that is professionals or technicians whose tasks require extensive theoretical and technical knowledge.
So out of the 8, high skilled jobs. So out of the 8 people that make the baked goods and the bread, we have 2 master bakers who develop new recipes, and they are in highly skilled, so a highly skilled job. Their tasks require theoretical knowledge, theoretical abilities, theoretical knowledge and different abilities. So I'm going to say that 2 out of the 8 are highly skilled jobs.
Semi-skilled jobs, that is workers whose tasks require some level of mechanical or technical knowledge.
6.
In low-skilled jobs, those whose tasks involve no specialized knowledge.
And 6 plus 2 is 8, so we already have the 8, and we don't have anyone that is a low-skilled production worker. Who's next in the room?
At the end of fiscal year 2024 in this establishment, how many permanent full-time workers in each of the following categories were female? Then I read out the options. Female production workers of your 8 production workers.
5 of the 8 were women.
Female non-production workers of the 2 that were non-production workers.
1 is a woman.
What percentage of how many of the permanent full-time workers employed at the end of fiscal year 2024 completed secondary school? Please provide the percentage or number, not both.
So out of all of them, Out of all of them, 80%, or I will say the number, that's easier. So out of the 10, 8 completed secondary school.
Question, if you had put the percentage, what would have been the response to that question?
Again, can you repeat that?
What if you had mentioned the percentage and not the number?
L10, over
What would
fiscal
be the
year
response to that?
2024, did this establishment have formal training programs for its permanent full-time workers?
Thank you, Avita. I'll reply that, but I think in St. Vincent there was a question. Sorry, I have trouble listening. Can you say it again?
All right. The question before then is 9, go back with the numbers where you're asked to put the number or the percentage.
Yes.
Right. If you had put the percentage, what would have been the response at L9V1?
Can she hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Avita, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So in terms of your question, if you put percentage here, for example, it would be if they tell you about 90% of my workers have finished secondary school, you're at 90, and that's it. It is a little bit tricky that if you ask this question, they tell you 90%, you will have to select percent and then write the 90. And if they tell you out of the 10 people, 8 people, so then you select number and you write the 8. Which either or, whichever one is they prefer, that's fine.
The number will be cool for me.
L10. Over fiscal year, did this establishment have formal training like Avita was reading? Yes, we did have formal training programs for our workers. L11.
Oh, that's it for Antigua.
Okay. St. Vincent, could you read in the room?
L11.
Yes.
Refer to those training programs, what percentage of permanent full-time workers of the following categories receive formal training? If easier, please provide the total number. Provide one or the other, but not more.
Okay, this is incorrect. This is a grammatical error. So please just don't pay attention to that. Here, what percentage or number? Percentage, 100% of the workers at the bakery received formal training programs. We had a training program last year of how to keep the facilities sanitized in the best possible way. And it was a week-long training, and they all participated. Okay. So everyone, 100% out of the production workers and the non-production workers, everyone.
L12, referring to those training programs, what percentage of female permanent full-time workers receive formal training? If easier, please provide a total number. Provide one or the other, but not both.
This is the same question, but specifically about women workers. I already told you that in the bakery, it was absolutely everyone. But in many cases, it will not be everyone. So here we want to know how many women workers specifically. In this case, again, it's everyone. So 100%.
Yeah.
L54, in the last 3 years, has this establishment dismissed any permanent full-time workers?
I'm going to say no, we haven't dismissed anyone. If I said yes, more questions would open. And actually, I will say yes, just so we go over these questions. Yes, we dismissed someone. Okay. L35. I think in the room, did everyone read?
Yes.
Okay, so Grenada. We go to the room in Grenada.
How many weeks did it typically take from the time the notice of dismissal was provided to the worker until the worker was removed from the establishment's payroll? Please indicate all the pre-notice requirements, notifications, and wait times.
Thank you. How many weeks? So we need the answer in weeks. In this case, please pay attention to this because when I get the data, this has happened quite a bit that they are not providing the information in weeks. So ask the respondent, like, can you provide me this information in weeks if they answer in anything else? So how many weeks did it take? Typically, so the most frequent. It took around 1 week between when the person received the dismissal notice to when they were removed from payroll. No, 36. In the room in Grenada.
How many weeks of salary was the typical severance payment for dismissed permanent full-time worker? Please indicate pay and benefits for excluding unpaid salaries for temporary workers.
Once again, how many weeks? Perfect. How many weeks? Typical severance payment. Generally, they are paid around 4 weeks of work. Severance, in case it's not clear, severance is the compensation of pay and benefits granted to some employees upon termination of employment. Meaning when someone is dismissed, they get a payment that is equivalent. Generally, in many countries, it's equal to 1 month pay. In many countries, it's equal to more months of pay. It really varies. So we are asking how many weeks did they pay in that compensation payment when they dismiss someone. L1A.
At the end of fiscal year 2024, how many permanent part-time individuals work in this establishment? Please include all workers and managers. Permanent part-time workers are defined as all workers that work for a term of 1 or more years and or have a guaranteed renewal of their employment and that work for less than a full shift.
Here we finally get to the permanent part-time. So it's the exact same thing as before, but part-time, meaning that they don't work a full shift, that they are permanent. They've been there for a year or more, or they have a guaranteed renewal. We do not have part-time workers in my bakery, but in your case, for example, it might be that you run into businesses, for example, hotels that hire people part-time, that they only work in the mornings or they only work in the afternoons, or restaurants. A lot of service-oriented businesses have part-time workers, in which case you would just enter, for example, 5 people. Let me see, L6. Okay, it's always L6. Okay, no part-time workers in this case. L6.
How many full-time, seasonal, or temporary workers did this establishment have during fiscal year 2024? Full-time, temporary workers are all short-term. That is for less than a year. Workers with no guarantee of renewal of employment work full-time.
Here we finally get to the seasonal or temporary workers. So those that are not permanent, essentially, but they do work full-time. For example, they work for 3 months, they work for 6 months. In the case of my bakery, we do not have any seasonal or temporary workers. L37.
Over the last 3 years, has this establishment been involved in any labor disputes? Labor disputes include any formal disagreements over salary, benefits, health and safety, dismissal, or other labor-related issues. Labor disputes could involve individual workers or groups of workers. Collective disputes.
Great. Labor disputes. So again, if we used every country's definition of a labor dispute, we would have a million definitions. So this is how we define it. Formal disagreements over any of these factors. And they can involve one or multiple workers. I'm going to say no. If I say yes, there are more questions that come up, such as how many months did it typically take from the moment the dispute arose until it got resolved, whether through an agreement, court decision, or other means. And then how much did the resolution of the typical dispute cost this establishment in Eastern Caribbean dollars? These include all costs, even fines or dues if they were paid to other parties, if any. And it's those two questions. So in this case, we didn't have any labor disputes. L40.
During the fiscal year of 2024, in reference to workplace health and safety, was this establishment visited or inspected by a government labor inspector, or was it required to meet with one? Yes or no?
I'm going to say that no. If I said yes, there would be a question that says, as a result of these inspections, was a report issued to the establishment by the inspectorate? If there has been more than one inspection, please consider the latest completed inspection. And we highlight completed, so not that those that are ongoing. Okay, in this case, I'm going to say no for the case of the bakery. And we get to this question. Did everyone read in Grenada?
Yes, everybody did. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I think whose turn is it? Imogene? Okay, let's go Delia.
Using the response options on the card, to what degree are each of the following an obstacle to the current operation of this establishment?
You show card 29, and if you can read the options.
How are here? I was trying to unmute, but it was sticking.
No, no worries, Imogene. You'll read the next one.
Yeah. Okay, no problem.
Delia, could you
The
read the options? Yes. So L30A.
Okay. Hold on. L30A. No obstacles, minor obstacles, moderate obstacles, major obstacles.
The no obstacle, minor obstacle will be in the card. But if you can read the L30A and then you'll read L30B. So
Okay.
L30A.
L30A, labor regulations.
Perfect. So then you say labor regulations. I reply that labor regulations are a major obstacle, for example, and then you read L30B.
L30B, inadequate educated workforce.
That's no obstacle.
L30C, the cost of hiring new workers.
That is a moderate obstacle. Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we finish that section, we go to the M section, and we're getting close to finishing. So there are only two sections left, M and N. M is very short, it's only one question. But this is a very special question. Hence why it has its own section. So I'm gonna read this. By looking at the list of elements of the business environment, please tell me which one currently represents the biggest obstacle faced by this establishment. This is, as you can see, a sensitive question, but it's a very important one. We are asking them, what is the biggest obstacle for you, for your business? And this is the only question in the questionnaire that you will actually show the tablet to the interviewee. So for everything else, you will have the tablet, you will be reading the questions, they will be answering, and you will be entering the response. But for this question specifically, you will show the tablet to the respondent, they will read the options, they will tell you which one, and you will enter it. Why? The reason for this is that there is a lot of research that says that when people have a long list of options, they tend to either select the ones that are up top or the ones that are below. They don't really even read the ones that are in the middle. So they just select something from the first three or something from the last three. But we don't want that. So the solution to avoid that is to change the position of the options randomly. So in one interview, you might have, let me show you. You press this button, the green button, the business environment card, and you have the list of options. In one interview, you might have courts first, political instability second, tax rates third. And in the next interview, you might have transport first, corruption second, and labor regulations third, for example. So this will change in every single interview. So you will show the tablet to the person. They will read all these options and they will tell you, for example, in the case of the bakery, for me, the hardest thing is labor regulations, for example. So then you can't really select anything here. This is just a list. So you grab back the tablet. You press on this thing that will take you back to where you were. This is like a pop-up. So you come back to where you were and you press this button, M1A, and you complete whatever they chose. And this will always be in the same order. So you go to labor regulations here, you select it, and you come back. And this button will turn green because there's nothing else that you need to do. It's completed. Okay, any questions? Okay. Yes.
Sorry, can you go for it one more time? Sorry.
Yes, no worries. So you are asking a sensitive question, which is by looking at the list of elements of the business environment, please tell me which one currently represents the biggest obstacle faced by the establishment. So biggest obstacle, sensitive question, as you already know, I'm a broken record repeating this. If they ask you for clarification, you say you can't give clarification. So they will, this is the only question in the questionnaire that you will show the tablet to the interviewee. And the order of the options will vary in every single interview. So now this is the order that happened, but in another interview, the order will be different. The reason for this is that it's a very long list, and there is a lot of research that says that when people have a long list in front of them, they tend to read the first three and the last three, and they select from that. They don't even read the middle. So in order to solve that, this order will change every single interview. So people will read, they will tell you, in the case of the bakery, labor regulations. You can't select anything here. So you give this to the list. We actually did that on purpose so that the person doesn't select themselves, because we don't want the people entering any information. They are telling you, and you that have been trained, that know how to do this, that know what each question is, enter the information. So you go back and you press on this second button. So this is the card that you show, and this is where you enter the information. You press M1A, and you select whatever they told you. In the case of the bakery, I said labor regulations, and you come back. And then this button turns green because there's nothing else that you need to complete there. It's so you already did everything inside of that button. Okay. Basically, you just follow the buttons. You go into the first, you show the person, and here you have the instruction. It says select the card below and hand the tablet to the respondent. After the response, select the respondent's choice in the M1A section below. So you have the instruction here, but I wanted to show it to you. Okay. So then you go here and you read out. I would like to ask you a few questions about this establishment's financial results. All these responses will be anonymized and neither you nor the firm will be identified. Should I continue with you or with the financial department or accounting? Once again, depends on the size of the firm, whether they will even have an accounting department. But either you, yes, continue with the current respondent, in which case you get the instruction to continue with section N with current respondent. Section N is the next section. Or no, continue with another respondent. In which case you get the instruction. Conclude with the respondent and ensure that all sections, including, this is incorrect wording, including L and N are complete. So if the person tells you, please talk to my accountant, I don't know any of this, you make sure that everything else is complete and you say, thank you very much. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And we need to coordinate with your accountant. So you schedule an appointment with the accountant and then you leave, which if you recall, in the computer, you press this logo up here in the top left. If you are in the tablet, you will have these three lines in the tablet, and when you press them, the first button will say dashboard, and you go back to the menu, which I will do now just to show you. And in this case, this interview lives in the started tab because I haven't completed it yet, but also it's not new. It's already started. So for example, I need to talk, the bakery owner told me that I need to talk to their accountant. I scheduled the appointment with the accountant. It's later today. I go to talk to the accountant. I open it. I'm right where I left the interview. So N is section performance. Okay. Now I'm going to be the bakery's accountant. So who can read? I think, where were we in the list of? I think we were in the, yeah, Dave, could you read? Actually, it was Imogene, right? Sorry, Imogene, I told you that it was going to be your turn.
Yes, sure. Now I would like to ask you a few questions about the financial results of this establishment. It is important that this information be as accurate as possible. All information you provide will be anonymized, and neither your name nor the name of your establishment will be used in any document based on this survey. And from this establishment's income statement for the fiscal year 2024, please provide the following information. I'm going to have to show again. The total cost of labor, including wages, salaries, bonuses, social security payments.
Great. So as you can see, this is very specific numbers. So it might be that a lot of businesses do not want to disclose this. As you already know, you always have the don't know option. However, always offer the possibility of, if you don't want to give me the exact number, you can give me a range. So an approximation. So in the case of the bakery, I'm their accountant. I will say that the total annual cost of labor was around, let's say, $1 million. Okay. And I will need to re-enter the amount. Okay.
I have a question. We don't have
yes.
so we don't have social security payment. So,
Perfect.
but we have um, income tax. Does that fall there?
The
So
income
Mhm.
the income tax will be asked later.
Okay,
So
so
here you only include wages, salaries, bonuses, and social security payments if there are any.
okay.
Okay. And to Imaging, could you read the options? I mean this.
Of which total annual cost of social security payments and employment-based taxes, excluding employee taxes that were withheld.
Yes. So so here the of which means of which, so out of the 1 million, total annual cost of social security payments, which you already told me are 0, and employment-based taxes, excluding employee taxes that were withheld. So anything that the employer, meaning the bakery in this case, paid on behalf of the worker would not be included. So some taxes, for example, that technically the worker should pay, but the business pays for them directly. They take it out of their salary and they pay it directly. That doesn't count. So any employment-based taxes that the business itself has to pay because it's regulated that way. It should be, the businesses know this very clearly. So this will not be a strange question to them. They will know this, especially an accountant will know this right away. So I don't know, let's say it's 100,000. Okay. And to be Imaging, could you read?
Total annual cost of electricity from public or private utilities.
So we clarify this because if the firm has its own solar panel, for example, then that doesn't count. You're interested in public or private utilities. I don't know, 80,000. And we get a flag. So the total annual cost of electricity relative to electricity consumption in a typical month, which we answered previously, is unusual. Please verify both the cost and the electricity usage. So you ask the person, excuse me, can I verify if this is, you said 80,000, is that correct? They say yes. And in C32, and you can go to C32. So we go to C32 here, and you had mentioned that the kilowatt hours of electricity that this establishment consumes were around 200. They say, yeah, I know it's too low or too high, I know, but it's for this reason, blah, 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 blah. You go back to section N, which is where you were. And we got this, and you write verified. Exactly. Perfect. And here you need to enter it again. 80. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Imaging, could you keep reading?
The total annual cost of water from public or private utilities.
Same thing. If they have their own well, we are not interested in that. It has to be from public or private utilities. So let's say 50,000. It's going to tell me that the typical blah, blah, blah. Again, I'm saying any numbers. I don't remember what we said yesterday. We can check, do the same process. They tell me, yes, I know it's weird, but it is true. Verified. Okay. Imaging.
Yes. Total cost of internet excluding mobile connection.
So we don't count any cell phones that the cell phone internet that the business may use, but the actual internet that is installed in the business. Let's say 70,000. And it's weird, of course. We ask them, they say
question.
yes.
What if the business does not use a landline as their telephone communication and they use only a, a cell phone? And then the next thing, what if the business has a self-done like phone service for themselves?
Can you repeat the second question?
The second one is if they have their own internal phone system.
Okay. So here specifically, we want to know about internet. So the reason why it says excluding mobile connections is because sometimes your internet can be from a hotspot or from a phone. So you're using the internet of the phone in your computer, for example, because you connected the computer to the phone. We are not interested in that internet. We're interested in the internet that is installed in the business, and that's the internet that they use, and it doesn't come from a hotspot from a cell phone. So that's why it mentions the mobile connections, but specifically we want internet. What is their cost for internet? So I had said 70,000. In this case, it says this. It's like, can you confirm it was 70,000? And the person might say, oh, did I say 70,000? No, I meant 7,000. Okay, 7,000. Okay, perfect. 7,000. Okay. Imogen, could you read N2E? This is a long question.
Sure. The total annual cost of raw materials and intermediate goods used in the production.
This question is here because this is a manufacturing firm. If it wasn't a manufacturing firm, this would not be here. So raw materials and intermediate goods, in this case, the flour, the sugar, everything that I use to create my goods through production. Any number. Okay. N7. Did everyone read? Is there anyone missing? I think Jasmine?
Yes. Okay. Hypothetically, if these establishments were to purchase all the machinery, vehicles, and equipment it uses now in their current condition and regardless of whether the establishment owns them or not, how much will they cost in Eastern Caribbean dollars?
Great. What we're trying to get at here is sometimes you rent machinery, you rent different things, but if you were to buy it, everything that you use, even the things that you have, so whether it's rented, whether you own it, how much would it be? We just want to know what the value of the business essentially is. So if you were to buy everything, or if you were to sell everything, however you want to think through it, how much would it be? So if I say that, hypothetically, if I was to purchase everything that I use in my bakery, the machinery, the vehicles, the equipment, in the current condition that it is, how much would it be? So that's the idea of this question. How much money would everything that is in the bakery and the bakery itself be? I have no idea. Let's say 10 million. Okay. And 11. Jason, could you read?
In the fiscal year 2024, what percentage of this establishment's total annual gross profit was paid as income-based taxes?
So here is the income tax question. Here you have a very long explanation. We made this shorter in later, but I can't change the questioner now. So the amount of taxes on profit that they paid over the course of the full fiscal year, and expressed as a percentage of the establishment total annual gross profit. So the profits that they made without the cost that they paid, so the gross profit. What percentage of that, of the money they made, was paid as income tax? 9%. Okay, and here we get to this button. As you can see, there's a few buttons throughout the questionnaire that says, now I would like to double check your responses to sales and cost questions to make sure I recorded them correctly. So if you press here, this is just to make sure that you entered the numbers correctly, because the reason why this is here is that many cases, a lot of enumerators across the world, they entered numbers incorrectly. So we want to triple check with the respondent if everything looks good. So you can quickly read sales in 2024 is $1 million Eastern Caribbean dollars. Total labor cost in 2024 is $1 million Eastern Caribbean dollars, of which total annual cost of Social Security payments and employment-based taxes in 2024 is 100,000, so on and so forth. Are these figures correct? Yes. The person says yes, they're correct, and you come back. And this turns green because you already completed everything inside of that button. I think there's a question in Grenada.
Yes, there is. Or one of the questions had to do with our N6, I think it is, that speaks about the internet use and the electricity and water supply. And what if then the company or the business, like in the case of you, the bakery, is operating out of the house of the person that is doing the business, where they have shared utilities, or in terms of or the person living in the back room or the family is somewhere and they're using the electricity, the water, and the internet. Is there a split cost between that on the electricity and the bills, or how do you navigate that?
That is a
And
great
secondly
question.
will be the questions from M, or in question M, I think is business or environment, where you speak of or you are asked of one of the biggest obstacles to your business. I just want to go back there a little bit. If there is more than one of the biggest obstacle that is being shared by the business, how do you navigate that also too, Chiz?
Yes. Okay, let me answer the first question first, and then I'll go to the second. So let me go back to the electricity and water. Great question about the electricity and water. Yes, and it happens quite a bit. So in that case, we're interested in the electricity consumption of the business, as you can imagine. We're not interested in the electricity consumption of the family living in the house. But as you rightly pointed out, in the bill, it's going to be everything if the business operates within the house. So in that case, you can ask them for an estimate of, okay, what is the percentage that you believe or that you know it belongs to the business. But you can always clarify that. If they say don't know, it's a don't know. But if they can give you an estimate, that is great. And you can always enter a comment saying that the business is in their house, they estimate the business electricity usage is, or cost, the total annual cost is this. So we know that is an estimation. But if they say don't know, it's don't know. If they give an estimate, then you enter the estimate. That's in terms of your first question. In terms of the M question, yes, the firm very likely will have multiple obstacles to their operations, but here specifically we want the biggest. So if this is tricky because, as you know, this is a sensitive question. So if they tell you, what is the biggest? I have so many. I have like 5. You can't really say anything because, again, it's a sensitive question. But you can repeat the question and you can put emphasis in that part. So you can say, let me repeat the question. By looking at the list of elements of the business environment, please tell me which one currently represents the biggest. So which one represents the biggest. And you can show them the list and say, tell me which one is the biggest. And then they have to choose whichever they think is the biggest. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does answer his question.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's go back to N. We had finished then? Yes. So we did the button. We completed everything inside the button, which is the verification. And then it says, interviewer, if section L or N will be completed with a different respondent, please arrange for those to be completed. Because we finished, basically, we got to the end of the questionnaire. And here it's telling you, if you jumped any sections because you will complete it with someone else, please arrange for those to be completed before you leave, sorry, the interview. As you can see, I'm going to go back and check that everything is completed. Everything is green, except the degree of competition, which, if you remember from yesterday, I know what question here is not completed. And it was because I entered a comment, and I'm going to enter this number later. Sorry, it was interviewee said ArcGIS. So this was, does this establishment presently use technology licensed from a foreign-owned company, excluding commercial and office software? So this, I didn't know if ArcGIS is considered commercial and office software or not. So I wrote it, and I'm going to wait for the supervisor to tell me if this is ArcGIS is or not software, commercial software. And then, or I can check online. And then finance, there was one question that was not answered, which was the one that I'm going to divide by 12, if I remember correctly. Where is it? Here. Please divide it by 12, and it was 20,000. Okay, I'm going to do this later. So actually, I can do it now because I left the interview. So actually, no. So if you go to the post-interview information, it says the survey ends here. Thank you for your time and cooperation. So you thank them very much for their time. You collect business cards if they have any. And that's it. And now you're in your house, or you're on in your car, or you're in sometime after the interview. I'm gonna complete. I check whether ArcGIS is a commercial software. I see that yes, it is. Apparently, it's very common. A lot of people buy it. So then, does this establishment presently use technologies licensed from this, excluding commercial software? It would be a no, because we are excluding commercial office software. And this turns green. If I go to finance, I open the calculator. This was 20,000, was it? It was all the way down. Here, 20,000. So 20,000 divided by 12. It's 1666.6. So I will write 1666.6. It will not let me. The reason you cannot enter decimals, so you have to round up. Since it's 0.66, we round up because it's over 0.5, so 1667. And we complete it. It's still blue because I have to enter this again, 1667. And now it should turn green because everything is complete. Okay. I'll go again to the post-interview information. You have to press the button when the interview ends to record the time that it ended. This might be on a different day because if the interview took multiple sessions, It might be that the time the interview started and the interview ended, it might be days away. That's fine. We just want to know when it started and when it ended. The survey ends here. And this is the part that is for you. This is the questions. These are the questions that are for you as the enumerator. It is my perception that the responses to the questions regarding opinions and perceptions were truthful, somewhat truthful, not truthful. Once again, please answer this honestly. It won't affect whether we take the interview or not. It won't affect anything. We just need to know for research and to try to improve the questionnaire and different reasons. So just answer truthfully. I'm going to say that it was somewhat truthful. That was my perception of how the owner of the bakery answered. Then the responses to the questions regarding figures, productivity and employment numbers were taken directly from establishment records, estimates computed with some precision, arbitrary and unreliable numbers, in some cases taken from books, and in some cases they were estimates. So all those times that the person did not want to tell you and you suggested them giving you an estimate, and if they did, you can say they were estimates computed with some precision. Here you have a space to write any final comments regarding the entire interview. I have seen some very funny things here. Funny. I have seen some funny things. I have seen some tragic things. There have been cases in which the interviewer wrote, "We were in the middle of the interview and the office started flooding, and I had to help people that could get away from the building, and then we had to finish the interview another day." So things happen. Hopefully nothing bad will happen. So you can write here any other comments about the interview that you think it is important for us to know, in terms of the person might have been a little worried when they were answering because there was a big thing happening, for example. So hopefully no bad things will happen when you're doing interviews or in general. Then this questionnaire was completed in one session with one person, one session with different people, several sessions. This case, it was one session with different people because you interviewed the owner of the bakery and the accountant of the bakery, and it was one right after the other. Estimate the duration of the whole interview. It was around, let's say, an hour. There are unanswered questions because you didn't enter any comments. So you can either leave this blank if you don't have any comments, or you can say no comment, or of course, if you have a comment, you write the comment. Okay. And you have this button that goes to the supervisor section, but this will show you nothing. This will be empty. As you can see, everything is green because you don't have a supervisor account. From the people that have a supervisor account, they will be able to see more things here. So if you press, you will see these things, but you won't be able to complete anything or do anything. And then you go to the complete screen, which is the last screen. And it says you're about to complete this interview and the number of the interview. Unanswered questions. Here, everything will pop up that is unanswered or error. So anything that is blue or red. Unanswered questions here, these are from the screener section. This is the eligibility thing that we will do later today. So this should be 0, or let's say that these are not important right now. All the questionnaire was completed. A final chance to enter comments if you want, and you press complete. Once you press complete, this interview will appear in your completed tab. So it's no longer in the started, it's no longer in the create new, it's now in the completed. If you are in the tablet, you'll have to press the little cloud that is on the top right corner, which is the synchronizing button, so that this interview that now lives only in your tablet goes to the cloud. When you do that, it will disappear from your completed tab. It will leave your tablet completely. So Okay. I think maybe what we can do, I want to show you what happens when the interview is rejected. But I have, do we have any supervisors here? Yes, Jason, I believe.
Yeah.
Is it Jason? And I think there was someone else.
Yeah, I think it's myself and Dave. I could be wrong.
Okay, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it's Jason, Dave, and Anna.
Great. So for the supervisors, when we come back, actually, I might do this now. I might do this the supervisor now because it's a very easy transition, and then we can go for the lunch break. So let me show you what the supervisors will have to do, and this is important for the enumerators as well because this is what the supervisor will mainly look at and what they will tell you when they reject, if they reject an interview. So I'm gonna log off from my enumerator account and I'm gonna be my own supervisor. So I'm gonna log into my supervisor account. You remember. No, it should be this. Yeah. Okay, and the first time you enter, it will ask you to change the password just so you're the only person that knows your password. So I'm gonna change my password. Okay. And this is what I will see in the supervisor account. I will have interviews. So if I go to interviews, I will see all the interviews that are assigned to me as a supervisor. So in this tab, in assignments, I'll see all the interviews that I have assigned that people have in their tablets and are either haven't started or are ongoing, or the things that are still that I don't need to review yet. But in the interviews tab, I will see all the interviews that have been completed and sent to me. So I will need to check this tab every day and go through the interviews, reviewing and checking whether they can be accepted or they are rejected because there's something that needs to be fixed, and then we'll review again. I will select this one, which was just sent by this user, which is my enumerator user. I will open it. And this is what the supervisor will see. They will see exactly, exactly what you saw and selected, the menu, and they will have this this menu to the left that with different filters. If they go to the cover, they see the questions that have comments. But honestly, we're using the comments for a lot of things, so you don't particularly need to use this here to particularly pay attention to this in this way. So what will the supervisor do? The supervisor should go through the different sections, make sure that everything is entered. Of course, if they see everything green, it means that everything has an answer. But if they see things in blue, they should see what is missing. And they can always highlight things that are correct or how they were entered with this little flag. So let me show you. Okay, so it's a sole proprietorship. This is yes, 0, 100, blah, 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 blah. They go through the different things. And for example, does this establishment have an internationally recognized quality certification? They said no. Best pizza in town is what the the person said. This is correct. If the person said best pizza in town, that's a no. We go to section C. Go up. Okay, section C. Yes, 1 day or less, and they see these. So they will have to check about these flags if they have been verified. So they see that please confirm if the wait time is less than 5 days and verified. Okay, so this I will, if I'm the supervisor, I will not flag this because this has already been verified. The person checked right then and there. So this is fine. But if no comment was here, so if the supervisor saw this, but they didn't see the verification, they would have to flag it. So press this little flag and enter a comment. Oh, sorry. Enter their own comment saying, please verify. Okay, and send. And when they send it, so when they reject the interview, they will choose, they have the option to send it back to the to the original enumerator or to another enumerator. If when the enumerator receives the rejected interview, they will go and they will look at these flags. And this one has a flag and it says, please verify, because this we said this doesn't exist. Are you following the train of that? Yes? Okay. So then please
So I
verify.
have a
So then,
question.
yes, Dave.
Right. So those that appear in blue, which were not answered, would the enumerators portal not alert them that they did not answer something that they should have gone back to rectify before, or would it allow them to go ahead without answering a question, which would appear blue on the supervisor's portal?
Yes. So like we saw yesterday and today, the system will tell the enumerator multiple times there is something that is not completed. That at the end of the section, they will
Yes,
have a sign. At the end of the complete, they will have a sign.
right.
The blue.
So
But
how come it comes over to us undone?
that's a great question, but it happens. Agreed, but agreed. So that depends on the enumerators and also how well the enumerators are trained and how much attention they pay. So I'm confident this group will do a great job. We're doing a great training, so hopefully everyone will make sure that everything is completed. But it can happen that sometimes people send things that are not completed, in which case you should flag it and give it back to them and say, please complete. In this case, if they didn't verify and this is there, you ask them to verify. What does this mean for the enumerator? Does this mean that the enumerator needs to contact the firm again? It really depends. If the enumerator does not know the answer because they didn't ask it, they did not realize that they didn't ask that question, or they don't know, then yes, they do need to reach out to the firm. But if this is something that they asked and forgot to enter the comment or whatever, they can clarify that. They do need to tell the supervisor that. But it really depends on the interview and why the verified comment wasn't there. So for example, if the enumerator always verifies everything and they just forgot one time to enter the comment, but they verified because they always verified, that's fine. If they didn't verify any of the please confirm, then they're going to have to call back and make sure. Essentially, it really depends. But please try to not forget to enter the comment because it is very important. Okay. Then once, so please verify in this case, once the interview is rejected, the enumerator will get it and they will see this and they will say, okay, I need to verify this. The supervisor will continue reviewing. This was verified, so this is fine. Continue to see if there are any other orange flags. I don't see any other orange flags. Orange flag, please confirm. This was verified, so this is okay. Okay, we go to D. So this is the first thing that the supervisor will do. They will go through the interview, make sure that there are no orange flags that haven't been verified, and so on and so forth, and that there are no blue sections, questions that have not been answered. Then they will go to the supervisor section. And this is the section that the supervisors need to complete. So they will each have a code. My code is 100. Indicate the mode of date of collection, whether the interview was face-to-face only, video conference only, mainly face-to-face with parts done by video conference or by phone, mainly video conference with parts done face-to-face or over the phone. It depends on how you organize this internally. So this is a note for Kiwan and the supervisors and Andrea and Jimena. Whether you want the enumerator to highlight this in the comments, then you can ask the enumerator to say this in the comment, and then the supervisor simply enters it here from the comment. Or if there's another way you want to operationalize that, that's up to you. So for example, this was a face-to-face only interview. The screener region, this is the region, in all your countries, there's only one region because they are not, they don't have different regions because of the territory size. So you always enter the one. Information based on location of interview, ensure A3X is the name of an official locality and not a neighborhood. This is important. Please pay attention to the supervisors. Description as recorded. From the screener, the enumerator, let's assume that the screener happened, which we will touch, we will do that after the lunch break. Let's assume the screener happened. In the screener, they wrote what city this was in. You here have to write the name of the city correctly. So if there's a grammar issue or if the person wrote the name of a neighborhood instead of a city, you need to make sure that this is the name of the city. So in this case, what city can people tell me a city? It could be St. John, but let's do a different one in Antigua. So I think you're muted in Antigua.
Oh, we're still debating if it's like the parish or the city, because we only have one city because of the citadel, the cathedral, but then we had an old town which was Parham. So
okay, so in this case, yes.
City.
Yes, it can be the locality. So you can say the parish if that.
Yeah, St. George's.
St. George's. Okay, St. George's. Okay. And it asks you, is the establishment located in the capital, which is St. John's? Is the locality of St. George's within St. John's?
No, it's a parish unto itself. So we have St. John's Parish.
Perfect. Perfect. So then it's a no. Supervisors, pay attention that if you send the headquarters and then me, because this I've seen a lot, this, and in some interviews you tell me that St. George's is the capital, and in some interviews you tell me that St. George's is not the capital, I will send it back to you and you will have to change every single one. So please be consistent. So St. George's, it is not the capital of the country, so that's a no. Please say no in all. Don't say in some yes and some no. Then, is the establishment located in the main business city? In all of your countries, the main business city is the same as the capital city. In some countries, this is not the case. For example, in the USA, the main business city, I believe, is New York, and the capital is Washington, D.C. So in some countries, it changes. In your countries, it doesn't. So we said in the capital city, no. In the main business city, no. Size of the city or locality. What is the size of St. George's? I don't really know. Let's say 50,000 to 250,000. In your case, I'm making it up now, but in your case, Google it if you don't know, and you enter the correct answer. Did you verify that the interview took place by calling back the establishment? So there is a percentage of interviews that the supervisors or the management team will call back to make sure that the interview happened, that everything looks good. If this is one of those interviews, you say yes, otherwise you say no. Let's say no in this case. If the interview happened on the premises of the establishment, were the GPS coordinates added and verified? So, So, yeah. Did I answer that they were, let me go back to section A. So when I was an enumerator, I got the question, were the GPS coordinates collected on the site of the establishment? And I said yes. Hence, what the supervisor sees here is if the interview happened on the premises of the establishment, were the GPS coordinates added and verified? So I go and I check in section A that the GPS button was pressed and the person said yes, that this is the establishment. So these are the GPS coordinates, they were entered, everything looks fine. So I will go back to where I was. But if the enumerator selected no because they were doing the interview somewhere else with the person, what you would see here would be different. What you would see here would be please enter the GPS coordinates of the establishment. So then you would go to Google Maps, for example, or a similar, or if you want another type of that same type of service, and you would write the name of the firm. And when you write the name of a firm, you get the, let's see, I don't know what, the name of any business. Let's say, what's the most common supermarket? Let's say Giant supermarket here in DC, just for you to. So Google Maps, there are a lot of Giant supermarkets. It was this one, the one that was interviewed, for example. So here, if we go to the coordinates, where were the coordinates? Jimena, do you remember where exactly are the coordinates? They are somewhere.
Oh, I think if you click the
there, yes.
Yes, sorry.
Exactly. Yes, thank you. So right button, and here are the coordinates. So you can copy this and enter it. And you enter it in that field that would be there. Okay, and then the other things that the supervisor will do, I'm trying to finish by the time for lunch, is they will go into verify sector variables. And here they will have what the enumerator selected as the main activity. Remember when we were talking yesterday about the main activity and how that main activity determines the questions that will come later. So it is a very important question, if not the most important question in the questionnaire. Here is when the supervisor will analyze it. So according to the enumerator, this is a manufacturing of, so a manufacturer firm, and the description is bakery that only sells gluten-free goods. And they have to choose a 4-digit ISIC revision 4 code that best applies to the establishment's activity. I know that to a lot of you, you might not know that what that is, and rightly so. The ISIC is the classification of industrial activities. So the United Nations, I believe, or they're an international organization, has a list of all the industrial activities in the world, and each activity has a number. So what we are asking the supervisor is to go through the list and select the number that describes manufacturing of bakery, of baked goods that are gluten-free. Is there a question? Okay, no. So let me go to the ISIC codes. So you don't, again, enumerators don't have to deal with this. This is for the supervisors, but it's good for you to know what the supervisor will do so that you understand how to best do your work on your end so that they can do their work as easier as possible and they don't have to reject interviews. This is the ISIC classification. So anything that is manufacturer of dairy products, for example, is 1050. Anything that is manufacturer of grain mill products is 1061. Manufacturer of sugar is 1072, and all these things. And this is a very, very, very long list. So if I go here and I see manufacturing of bakery that only sells gluten-free products, I will look for bakery, manufacturer of bakery products. It's 1071. Okay, so I will go here and I will write 1071. And here it says the code was 1071, which is manufacturer of bakery products. Please review and make sure this is the correct code according to the description. Bear in mind that this can lead to a lot of trouble because if what you wrote is not detailed enough, if you wrote, and I'm going to be very, very generic here, manufacturing of things, for example, which you should already know that's not a good enough description, but I'm being very, very obvious with this. So manufacturing of things. How can I know from this list what is manufacturing of things? You have meat, fish, fruit, bakery products, sugar, cocoa, wines, textiles, and the supervisor needs to be able to assign one of these codes. That's why I insisted yesterday that we need detail in the description. So please bear that in mind, because if the supervisor cannot assign one of these codes, they might reject the interview and ask you for more detail. What did the person say exactly? So bear that in mind. Just try to be as clear as you can with the activity. Okay. Supervisor section. Going back. Then innovation variables, same thing. Please review the descriptions. This is H32X is the new product or service. They sell sandwiches for lunch. They did not sell sandwiches before. Remember the two things. One is what is the innovation and how does it differ from what was there before? This is a good description. H62X is this is the new process. The bakery got a new machine that allows them to prepare bread much faster, and they prepare more bread than before. So again, the two things are there. What is the process innovation and how it's different from before? Is this accurate? Yes. Okay, go back. Sales and cost verification. These are the full-time employees in 2024 is 10. Full-time employees is establishment was not in business. So it summarizes all the workforce sales and cost variables, and it will check for typos. So it will check, for example, if instead of 10, there is a typo here. Say yes or no if there's a typo. Sales, again, check, yes. Cost of raw materials, are there any typos? The value of machinery is this. Are there any typos? No, everything looks good. Okay. Then the last one is the translation of strings, which thankfully in your case, your supervisors, you will not need to do because everything is in English because this interview is carried out in English. But in other countries, the supervisors need to translate all the texts. So then they finish each part of the supervisor section. And again, the translation of strings you don't need to do. And here they have the option of approving or rejecting. They can also use these filters to see everything that they flagged or that they didn't flag. If there are questions that have invalid responses or that were not answered. These not answered are from the screener, that's why.
So I'm not seeing your screen.
You are not seeing my screen? I believe can everyone see my screen?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I
Yes,
can
I
see
can
it.
see your screen.
Dave, I think that it might be something from your connection. But I should be finished very, very soon. So yeah, but essentially you have a button that says approve or reject. In this case, I think I don't recall if there was anything to reject. So I would approve, and then it goes to headquarters. But just to show you enumerators how it looks when the supervisor rejects something, I will reject it, and you can reject to the original responsible or reject and choose new responsible. And you can write a comment. I will keep it to the original enumerator and reject it. And now I will go to my enumerator account just to show you how it looks when an interview is rejected. So here I'm the enumerator. It's a new day. I go into my tablet. I synchronize. I see that I don't have any new assignments. These are the interviews that I have ongoing. These are the ones that I have completed. Nothing is here because that interview that I had is in the rejected tab because it was already reviewed by the supervisor and it has been rejected. So I open it to see what's the problem, what do I need to address. And if I go to the cover, it will tell you questions that have supervisor comments. And there is only one, which is C4. So if I press on it, it will directly take me there. And here I will see the supervisor comment, which again, this was the case in which, let's imagine that this verification did not happen. So we say, oh, I didn't verify this. So if I verified, but I forgot to put in the comment, then I can enter it. If I did not verify it, I need to contact the firm again to verify it. I will address the supervisor comment here for example, I did a callback. It is verified. So you call back, you verify, you address it. This does not need to change. And everything else is completed. There were no other comments like we saw at the beginning in the cover, otherwise they would be listed there. So you can complete again. And you press complete and it goes to the supervisor again. So that's the process. That's what the supervisor will see, what the enumerator will see. And of course, as you move along, things will be, you will know how to do this quicker and it will be more smoother. Okay, there are questions. Antigua.
Is there a particular reason why the supervisor would send it to a different enumerator?
It could be that if that enumerator, for example, is sick, and they can't do the interview that week, and that's the only week that the interview can happen. So things can happen if people get sick or they move and they have to work in a different part of the country. So it's just an option. Generally, it would go back to the same person unless there is a specific reason why not.
Thank you.
Jason?
Hi. So I had 3 questions. The first one, I'm assuming we will be provided the Excel with the IC codes, correct?
Yes. It's also available in Google online, but yes, you will receive it. Yes.
Okay. So with regard to verifying, let's say for the GPS, let's say there's a business, one of those businesses where someone lives in the country and they're doing it in, let's say, their kitchen, right? And they're a registered business. They're doing it from their kitchen, but there's no GPS that was inputted, and because it's a residence, it's not on Google. Is there a suggestion you would to suggest for locating that GPS location?
So what is important is, and this is a note for the enumerators, if you are in the business, always press the GPS button and put that when into the question, is the GPS collected in the business? Say yes. So then Jason, what you just need to check is just in Google, you check. If you have to enter it, again, the process is the same. You check where the business is, and anything, even if it's something that is not specified, you should be able to find the GPS. So absolutely anything. But if there's a problem with finding GPS or something like that, reach out to Kiwan and to Andrea and Jimena, and they will be able to help you.
Okay. And I had a question about the callbacks. You said there was a threshold of like 15%, but I noticed when you're reviewing some of the numbers, we had to call back. So we have to call back for reviewing all the financial numbers, or would there be a threshold where say, okay, this one is flagged for callback? That part I don't quite understand.
So
Yeah.
you don't need to call. So the enumerator does not need to call back or contact the firm again unless they haven't verified something. For example, there's a soft flag and they didn't verify in the moment, then yes, they need to go back. Or if they forgot to answer a question, and this is what I really hope you guys minimize, is you selected manufacturing and then it turns out that that business was not manufacturing. You should actually have chosen retail, but you incorrectly put the manufacturing. And you didn't realize during the interview that the person was saying, this does not apply to me, does not apply. So then when you change to retail, a lot of new questions will pop up and a lot of the questions you answered will go away. So then you definitely need to contact the firm again. But other than that, you will not need to contact. When you're going through the finances, you're just checking for typos. So you're checking that the person entered the number correctly. And you remember that in the sales section, in section D, people had to enter the number in numbers and the number in letters. So especially there, you look that the number they wrote is the same as the number they put in numbers. So for example, if they wrote in numbers 50,000, but what they wrote in letters is 40,000, you will send it back to your numerator saying, is it 50 or is it 40? Because you put two different things. So that's one. The other thing is there are a percentage of interviews that you would call back just to make sure that the interview happened, that everything looks good, which is just part of our standard process. So if that is one of the interviews that you called back, you would put yes. And if it's not, you would put no.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think there are no other questions. Let's take the lunch break. Let's go to 1:40 since we went over by 10 minutes. And then we'll do the screening and then we have the quiz and the simulations. So see you all at 1:40.
Okay.
See you then.